tend to believe that anybody feels the way we do about our girls and all those chords we're traveling to. And all the roads we drive, all the states we see, we've been volleyball, oh, so desperately. I said maybe we're gonna be the ones to cheer them on. We're lost in this volleyball.
Chapter 21. This is Volleyball'd. We're the Medinas, and I'm Carlos.
And I'm Allison, and apparently now old enough to drink alcohol.
Just now.
21. You said 21.
Oh, now I get it. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm a little
We've
slow on the
aged-
uptake.
We've aged into alcohol abuse.
It's been a long day. I'm sorry.
The longest day.
The longest day. So for this episode of Volleyball, we were talking about the stress that's going on. We had our club hopping season conversation last time. We still have, in our case here in Atlanta, SRVA regionals, the last opportunity to get a bid. So we wanted to do an episode that's a feel-good episode. And I think we accomplished that. I hope.
Yeah, I mean, I came straight from the very first round of basically tryouts at our youngest daughter's club, where they're coming to observe and watch and take notes and evaluate. And it's the second kid, so you're less stressed, but it's still there because I just can't turn it off. I know exactly what coaches are at the court and who's watching and what she's doing right or wrong, and I hate it. I just want it to go away. I just want, can tryouts be tomorrow and it's over? I don't like tryout season.
I did feel very weird because in the past I would grab a chair and I would sit there and I would just torture myself through it of who's watching. Did she get that kill? Did she make that play? This time, I pretty much just stood for about 30 minutes and then said, I'm getting out of here.
He left me.
I'm not going to beat my mind up over this stuff. So in this episode, in this chapter of Volleyball, we got a chance to catch up with a family friend, a family member, Cam Ennis. And Cam Ennis ended up having a very unique volleyball career. She is a young lady who grew up in San Antonio, Texas, and went through the entire club scenario when San Antonio really wasn't as big of a club-oriented city as it is now. And yet, that led her to playing at the highest levels of collegiate volleyball.
The highest of the highest level. You've seen this girl on TV if you've been watching volleyball for the last 5 years, which is really cool.
She had her senior year that we'll actually get into the conversation. I'm not going to ruin it for you, but it was in 2022. And to see somebody who took their volleyball career and the opportunity that it presented academically and to now turn it into what she has turned it into, which is looks like it's going to be a pretty promising career as she's finishing up her academic studies, as she works on another degree. Just a really impressive person that we got a chance to talk to.
Yeah, can't wait to share more. Here she is.
When you want to talk about a career in volleyball as a youth player, as a high school player, and then as a collegiate player, and all the places that volleyball and that journey can take you, we were put in touch with Cam Ennis. And if you know the name, or you've heard the name, or if you recall going back to 2022 in the Final Four, she was part of that. That's as big as it gets when it came to Pitt volleyball and where volleyball took her. Cam, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Yeah, thank you all so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Cam, where are we talking to you today? Where are you right now?
We're in the
I am currently in Dallas, Texas, but I'm pursuing a veterinary degree at Tennessee right now for my clinical year, but I'm just home for a couple weeks for some externship opportunities. So I'm in Dallas currently, but living in Tennessee.
Very cool. Very cool. So I know that you were kind of raised in Texas and did the Texas volleyball scene. I think I saw somewhere that you started volleyball at 12 years old. So take us way back to little 12-year-old Cam. What got you into the sport? What was it that was like, oh, I want to go play that sport and ruin my parents' social lives for the next 20 years?
I was always in some type of sport. My mom always had a rule where we were allowed to be involved in two things, no matter what it was. If it was a sport, if it was like an art activity, like an instrument. Um, so mine were always sports. So I went through soccer, tennis, softball, everything, dance. And then I kind of was stuck on cheerleading for so long. And I was a competitive cheerleader. And then one year I hit the most insane growth spurt and I could not tumble or do anything anymore. So I quit because I was mad. And my mom was like, okay, well, you have to do something. And I was just like, man, like just sign me up for volleyball, I guess. So I actually went to my first club tryout, never have touching a volleyball before. And I just remember like I cried at my first club volleyball tryout because I was like, I don't even know like what any of this is. I was just there and all the girls knew what they were doing and you had a pepper and I was like, what is going on? Um, and that was when I was 12 and they ended up putting me, I think, on their like second level team that year, and that was my first year playing volleyball. Um, and then ended up working my way up to the top team, I think on my 13s year. Ended up playing up a little bit through club and then yeah, that's kind of just how I started playing, but I loved club volleyball. It was so fun.
Before we get to your college years, and this is Cam Ennis. She's joining us from parts unknown or now known as she's working on even more education and more degrees. Let me ask you about this because I grew up in San Antonio, but club
Hmm.
volleyball because it's exploded so much, but it didn't really exist. And then suddenly now it's everywhere across the state of Texas. When you started, where did you start at? Did you only play at one club? How did that journey go for you?
Um, I only played at Alamo for all of my years in San Antonio. I think some of the big clubs at that time was Alamo, and then Magic had just kind of started building itself up. And Force was another big one. And now I know all of them have kind of blown up. Like I know there's a Force all around Texas. Each city has their own team. Alamo's huge, Magic is huge. But I think like back when I was playing though, and when I started, um, I feel like all the San Antonio clubs were not that like big or talented, to be honest, until like later on years and like San Antonio sports culture just grew and kind of blew up with as club volleyball blew up.
It's the craziest thing ever. It used to be you'd go to a qualifier and you knew what 8 clubs were going to make it to gold bracket on Sunday. And now we are constantly looking up these clubs like, who is this? Where are they from? Why are they so tall
Hmm.
and so good? What happened?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I played at Alamo for all of my years of club volleyball and I think my mom just had kind of signed me up for it and I started there and I liked it and I ended up staying and I loved my experience and loved all the people I met through it.
So, what position were you back in club?
My first ever year of volleyball, I started off as a middle blocker and they randomly one day threw me in and they were like, "Why don't you try to set?" And everyone was like, "That's so strange that a middle blocker would be setting." And then I ended up loving setting, and they kind of stuck with that for a while. So I was a middle blocker setter my first 2 years of volleyball, which is unheard of. And then I got transitioned to the outside. So I was an outside on the left, and then I would set in the back row. For most of my club volleyball experience, that's what I did. Minus like sometimes we ran a 5-1 and I set, but it was mostly like the outside setter combo.
Which is unique. There should be a name for that. The outside setter combo is not seen every day, but I love it.
Yeah, it was so fun. I loved it as well.
Cam Ennis is our guest right here on Volleyball'd. Now, you played at three big time programs, and the first one that you were at was Kansas. And I wanted to ask you about first off, I've been to Kansas twice, and as a San Antonio kid, it was like going to the moon. It was
Hmm.
completely different than anything I'd experienced when I was playing some college ball. First off, how was that process for you for them to convince a San Antonio girl to come up to Kansas and come to Lawrence and come play volleyball over here and at the time the Big 12?
Yeah, I mean, recruiting was crazy in that time because it was also before they changed that rule to where I think now it's your junior year you can get your offers and talk to coaches, if I'm correct.
It's actually
Um,
after your sophomore year of high school on June 15th. Trust me, every parent in our gym knows that rule.
Oh yeah. Yeah, back then though, I started recruiting probably in eighth grade. Um,
What?
it was like end of seventh grade, going into my eighth grade year was the first time people started talking to us and offering us and stuff. So if you think about it, I'm like 13 at that point, 14, going through a recruiting process where I'm figuring out, where my whole life is going to be. So that's pretty intense at that age, but I think I kind of took the other route and I was like, this is so fun. Like, this is cool. And probably at that point in time, I also wasn't looking at the things you should be looking at when you're going to college, like your academics and what you want to be when you grow up. I was just like, this place is cool. The uniforms are cool. The facilities are great, which is a big part of, college athletics. Um, but I think the coaches, Coach Bouchard was there, and Coach Bird, which later ended up being my Texas A&M head coach, was assistant at Kansas during that time. So just talking to them too, I felt really comfortable around them and visiting Kansas, like you said, the atmosphere is insane. Going to basketball games, the volleyball fans at KU were just amazing. Like you think KU basketball fans are in it, like they love KU volleyball the same way they love KU basketball. And that was something I really noticed as a recruit.
That's great. I mean, I can't even imagine being that young and having to make those kind of life decisions. I mean, what did you think you wanted your major to be? And then did you just get out the course book and just like pick something randomly once you got there? Or how did you do it in reverse that way? What did you study?
Uh, So I always knew I wanted to go into medicine
Okay.
to some extent. So I started off biomedical sciences at Kansas. Um, and then I later discovered one of my academic advisor for our athletics at KU, which I got super close with him. His name was Cody Smith. He was awesome, but his wife was a vet tech in Kansas, so he allowed me to go shadow their hospital a lot. And that's kind of when I was like, wait, I don't think I want to be a human doctor. I kind of love vet med. And then I started talking to him and I was like, well, I don't know like what really I can do for my prereqs here at Kansas besides medicine stuff. And then I would have to kind of take extra courses on my own time for the pre-vet course. Since they didn't really offer that. And if they did, it was for Kansas State Vet School, which I knew I probably wasn't going to apply there. Um, so then, yeah, I kind of had to alter my schedule a lot, and I was just kind of really confused because at that point I still am like 18, 19, trying to navigate my future academically at that point.
Cam Ennis is our guest right here on Volleyball. Well, then let's take it from there. You spend a couple years, in Lawrence. You're playing over at the University of Kansas. You're obviously studying, a very high end level of biology, and now you decide let's go to Texas A&M. Take us through that process. What that because now everyone deals with the transfer portal, but even when we were looking at 2018, 2019, 2020, it hadn't exploded yet. What was that like for you?
Yeah, I feel like I hit the transfer portal. It was pretty new when I got into it, from Kansas at least. Um, It was like just now starting to like people were using it and I didn't really know what I was getting myself into at all when I put my name in the portal. I was just like, here we go, here goes nothing. Like I just was ready to take that step and um it's very different than I guess my regular recruiting was because like you said, the transfer portal is blown up. So you put your name in the portal and it's immediately like there's someone hired that is just checking that 24/7. And I did not realize it was like that. Um, so I think within me putting my name in the portal, within like 5, 6 minutes before I even left the office, I was already getting emails
Wow.
from schools, and that was pretty overwhelming at that time.
So I don't know if it's different now, but how did it work back then? Is it a conversation you go to the coaching staff and you say, "Hey, I'm going to do this," or do they find out because they see your name in the transfer portal?
I think it depends. Some people do it that way, but I had a great relationship with my KU coaches. Like I respect them very highly. And they always treated me pretty well. So I went in that day. of. And I told them, like, hey, I think it's my best interest academically. And for me personally, I would like to go back home and be closer to my family, and just kind of talk them through that. And they said they were proud of me and anything I needed in the process, they would help me with. And they very much did that. But then, yeah, I walked straight from their office straight to compliance office. And then you go talk to compliance, tell them you want to put your name in, you sign something, and then they put your name in the portal and your email's out there and your phone number's out there. And you can put if you want to get contacted first or if you want to only be able to contact other people, I guess to avoid your email getting blowed up or whatever.
Cam Ennis is our guest right here on Volleyball. Well, then, how did that time span work? Because you end up going to Texas A&M. You know, now you're another big school, another big conference, another big program. How long did it take to make that decision from the time that you put your name in the portal to decide that I'm heading over to College Station?
The portal, like I put my name in December. So I put my name in like mid-year, which was very stressful actually because you get done with your finals. My name just got put in the portal. You're going home. You have the holidays during that time. And then you're also trying to talk to coaches, plan visits when you know school for the spring semester starts like maybe January 10th, 12th usually. So that transition period over Christmas break was very stressful. But when I transferred again the second time over summer break, it was not as stressful. I had a lot more time to gather myself and gather my thoughts and all my belongings and everything.
So now you've landed in College Station. What month are you moving in, and how did your first week of practice go?
I moved in January. I drove up and it's actually crazy because then that was 2020 January. So I got to experience a couple good months of College Station before COVID. So that was its own beast. Um, but practice was great at A&M when I first got there. Like I said, Bird was my assistant coach that recruited me to Kansas, and now she was the head coach at A&M. So I already had that super strong relationship with her. She had known me since I was 14 years old. And then a lot of the girls I knew just from them being at other clubs in Texas and Houston and Austin and Dallas and everywhere. And even a girl I played club volleyball with at Alamo, Allie Fields, was on the team. So that transition to practice, it felt very like family right away, just because I knew so many people and A&M was so welcoming.
So Cam Ennis is our guest right here on Volleyball. You knock it out over at A&M. You become a graduate transfer. You've got the extra year. And was it a situation where you had a COVID year, or was it just the grad transfer year that you used for your final year?
It was my COVID year, yes.
So head over to the University of Pittsburgh, to Pitt, and obviously they have just an amazing season. Take us through that of deciding to go again, moving across the country once again to go to another program. What was it like that time for you?
So that time was super different because when I got done with my time at A&M, I was kind of done. Like I was like, I'm done with volleyball. My body kind of hurts, you know. I had some good years in me. Um, and then within a couple months already, I was like, okay, I miss competition. I miss being around my teammates. I started going to open gyms at A&M because they just needed more bodies since we had so many seniors that year. Um, and then I slowly was like, okay, I think I want to play, but I want something different. So I originally was going to try to play beach only, and I put my name in for sand, not realizing that when I had originally gone out of high school and got recruited for sand, it was so small, like it had just become a collegiate sport. So when I put my name in this time, I was like, oh yeah, like it'll be so easy. Like I'll figure out where I can go. Like I know some of the people already. I know some contacts. But no, sand volleyball is insane now at the collegiate level. So that was kind of a shocker for me. And then I was like, I want to go somewhere and try to win a national championship at that point in time. And I put my name in and I switched it to indoor and sand. I left my transfer portal open for both. And then I ended up getting a call from Pitt, and I was like, oh, absolutely. They had been to the Final Four the past 3 years. Like my odds being there and being successful athlete and being on a successful team were high, and I was so ready for that.
I don't know if you remember this, but Pitt came down and played a three-match against Clemson and Georgia Tech at Clemson. And my daughter was there and got to see you play and talked about it for like a month straight afterward. She thought it was like the coolest thing that ever happened in the history of time. And I just remember her coming home saying, they were all so nice and so tall.
Yeah, I think
No,
at the time
yeah.
she was like 11 years old.
Uh-huh. No, I completely remember her being there. That was a fun game too. I remember us being so hyped up the whole time, and she got to meet some of the girls after, and my Uncle Julian was there, as you all know. So that was great.
Cam Ennis is our guest. Well, let me ask you about that Final Four and that experience, because if when you decide I'm doing this one more time and you get to that biggest of stages, that is the biggest stage for collegiate volleyball. To get there, did it? And obviously, it didn't turn out the way you wanted it, but at the same time, did it not feel like, hey, I made the right decision to get to experience something like this?
For sure. The Final Four experience, like, yes, the game is what you're there for, but the just the Final Four experience in general is a once in a lifetime thing. Like, I will never take that for granted. Just the whole fans behind it, all the events that go into it, all the hype around the game, and all the extra stuff they have for us as athletes to just celebrate us getting to that point. And doing it with like all the people that you've been working hard with since June, with open gyms and everything throughout the summer. And it's like, wow, all of our work has like paid off to get us to this point. Yeah, that feeling is amazing.
See, I would love to just end the podcast and say, like, it was the perfect volleyball career. Everything went perfectly and you loved it. But I know that you did battle some injuries over time. Like, walk us through your career in volleyball, the kinds of injuries you dealt with and how you overcame them.
So I actually in eighth grade and my freshman year of high school, I actually, eighth grade first at a club volleyball tournament, I tore my left ACL completely in a game, just
Mm.
came down, completely blew it out. Um, yeah, bad. I had to completely get it reconstructed, had surgery, was out for I think 6 months. And I finally got cleared, put on my knee brace, and within 2 months, I partially tore my right ACL. So then I was out for majority of my eighth grade, ninth grade time period was off and on being able to play, struggling with that. Um, and then I was kind of healthy the rest of high school, and then Kansas just had awful shin splints. I was trying to fight all the time and stress fractures in both shins. I think just from primarily setting there and jump setting all the time. Um, and that was really hard because at one point at KU, I was our only setter on the roster in an off season and just trying to juggle, classes, going to class, studying, somehow making it to treatment time before practice that I had in the afternoon, so I could take care of my body was really difficult during that time. Um, A&M was relatively healthy. And then actually at Pittsburgh, the Elite Eight game, I think against Florida, no, no, no. Sweet 16 against Florida. I came down on my knee super weird. It got super swollen and we kind of just looked past it. And I played that Elite Eight game against Wisconsin to go to the Final Four. We just wrapped it up so much and I took some pain meds and played and actually ended up figuring out once the season was over that I also completely tore my meniscus in that knee and got that repaired. Um, when I graduated from Pitt. So I kind of recovered from that while I was starting vet school, which was a crazy experience in itself.
Cam Ennis is our guest right here on Volleyball. I'm hoping that all the parents who just went through that portion of this conversation, who are dealing with athletes that are dealing with injury, can see how somebody can persevere through that, because at times it feels like it's like the end of the volleyball career. It's the end of the volleyball season. It's such a bummer. Cam, let me ask you, when it comes to, as we're getting near the end of this thing, when it comes to the young athletes and the parents out there, what is some of the advice that you would give them, especially ones that are involved in club and they're doing the high school game right into club season. They're playing nearly 10 to 11 months out of the year. I think you really got to love it to be involved in it. What else would you tell some of those parents and those young athletes?
This sounds so cliche, but seriously enjoy it. Me and my mom talk all the time about how much we miss that time in our lives, because it wasn't just me with my friends, it was her with her friends, and they were doing things before and after our games, and just being around those girls. It's so different than college and pro, just because you grow up with these people. We've known each other forever, and I think just the memories built, and even today I still hang out with a lot of my best friends from club volleyball, and just it's been amazing seeing all the people grow through their different phases of life, and they've seen me go through all my different phases of life. So just really enjoy it. Like, as cliche as it sounds, I miss it, and I still think about it all the time, and I still am around people from club volleyball. So it really is a forever thing for me.
Who knows? Maybe we'll see you on a coaching roster sometime in the future.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Thank you so much for the time. And like I said, we'll look to hopefully catch up with you down the road. But thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you all so much for having me.
Oh gosh, this is our future. We're going to be sitting around still telling old war stories from the volleyball court when we're in our 80s, and I don't know if it's sad or exciting. I don't know.
Well, and I've never figured it out until probably the last year, when your parents and some of your parents' family friends who had their daughter go through the process and then play at the Division I level, when we're in Orlando, they come to watch our girls play because they missed the scene.
And they know how to look it up on AES. They know exactly what court and time to be there before I even tell them. They've already examined our roster and can assess the other side of the court before we even sit down with them, because they're volleyball parents.
It's all old hat to them. They're like, we know what court to meet you at. We'll see you there. Oh yeah, you're reffing first, so we'll take a little bit of extra time. All right, that's going to do it for us for tonight. Take us out.
I'm still reeling over the whole injury conversation. I knew she had some injuries, but wow. Can you imagine, as her poor mother and father went through that over and over again, and yet she persevered. So if your kids at home right now are on crutches or in a boot, make them do some sit-ups, because they're coming back. They're coming.
Today is gonna be the day that we run out of cash. Watching every serve and kill, it's a total smash. By now you should have somehow realized what we've lost. Our free time's gone, it's all for volleyball at any cost. I tend to believe that anybody feels the way we do about our girls and all those courts we're traveling to. And all the roads we drive, all the states we see. We've been volleyball'd all so desperately. I said maybe we're gonna be the ones to cheer them on. We're lost in this volleyball. Backbeat, the word is on the street that we're broke again. Entrance fees for tournaments our girls already in. I'm sure you've heard it all before, but we're at the bar, drinking through the overwhelm. No life beyond this far. Don't believe that anybody feels the way we do about the nets and all the chaos we're stuck into. And all the roads we drive, all the stakes you see. We've been volleyballed all so desperately. I said maybe we're gonna be the ones to cheer them on. We're lost in this volleyball, and all the lights that lead us there are blinding. The hotel we're still here. Volleyball, oh volleyball. I don't believe that anybody